All right. Well, are car prices about to climb again? Tariffs are back in the headlines, and today we're breaking down how that affects you, if anything, your wallet, and maybe your next vehicle. But for all those who don't know what's going on and what we're doing, and you know, we are on, Mohawk Eastern Standard Time today.
Well, it might be daylight time, but we're still Eastern, and it is 1:32 p.m. But if we were in Central, we would be on time.
Yeah,
12:30.
yeah. Congratulations, we did it. We want to appease all of our listeners.
That's right. That's right. We certainly want to give a welcome, a hearty welcome to everybody joining us, whether you're watching live or on the replay. This is Mohawk Table Talk. I'm Mike. This is Nathaniel. We're here every week, normally at 12:30, but 1:30 today, to bring you the latest and greatest. And we have a lot of updates to tell the folks about what's going on locally, what's going on in Mohawk Auto Group, and what's going on nationally and worldwide with tariffs and the car business.
Should we start locally?
I think so.
Let's start with local.
I think they just finished the list.
I just finished the list because they keep popping up in my head,
Right.
and I had to go through all of my all my emails that I had, and so there's so much going on. One of which is going to be that Schenectady hosted an electric vehicle conference last week. Well, this one May 1st, 2025, according to CBS 6. So there's that. EV, we always talk about EVs and how they're not going away. And as you can see, the National Electric Vehicle Conference last week, it was held outside of California, underscoring New York's growing EV role. So we are doing some work here in terms of EVs. They're not going away, but they are an option for individuals. And personally, for me, I do like EVs, and we've talked about how they're a benefit for the individual that is just driving back and forth, right? They all meet somebody's needs, and that's what we're here for. We're here to find you the right car, make it affordable, and if an EV fits that role, then we're going to allow it. Oh, one thing we didn't put on?
Oh, boy. What's that?
The Electric Clean Car Act, too.
That's right. That's
right. That is a huge one that just went through in New York. That's a huge New York one at the moment.
That is. We're gonna talk about that in a minute because that goes with the rest of our kind of network or nationwide
stuff.
update. So we're gonna talk about that in a minute.
It just popped in my head, but I don't have it in notes, and if I didn't say it, we would forget it. So moving on, before we get to there, our Chevy store hit 305 vehicles. So shout out to our Mohawk Chevrolet store. Congratulations.
That's right.
You guys did a phenomenal job this month and continue to rock over 300. We have been grabbing for 300 for a while. We finally hit it, so congratulations there. 564 cars at our Honda store.
That's right.
Congratulations to all of our people at Honda, all of our amazing employees. And, man, we're moving and grooving. We're getting into the season where people actually like to come out of their house and shop.
That's right. And it's spring, right? The last couple episodes, we talked about getting your vehicle ready for spring, getting your mindset ready for spring.
Yep.
I know we are. It's 65, 70 degrees. It's a little rainy out there, but
just a tad.
April showers, I feel like, came in May.
Yeah.
Now, but they're still going to bring late May flowers. And we're super happy about it. If you've caught any of our lives, we couldn't be happier that winter's over. What that means for you, car shopping, car maintenance, all those kinds of things. If you don't have your snow tires off and changed to your regular tires by
now is the time.
Yeah,
oh boy, I'm breaking things here. Sorry, Jared.
You missed that window, but we can still help you.
We can.
In addition,
all is not lost, friends. We are here for you still.
We are here for you. So even though, and thank you, really, those what Nate was just talking about, 305 and 564 units. That's a whole bunch of vehicles. That's what, almost 900 cars between the two stores.
969.
Yeah, and that's not a total.
If I'm doing math right, please correct me.
That's not a testament to the dealership. That's more of a testament to the customers.
Yes.
So people have recognized they're listening to us. Believe it or not, they're listening to us.
Yeah, they are. Thank you.
They're listening to our professional staff and our factory trained staff about why it might be a good time to buy a vehicle now, whether it's new or pre-owned, and also we had some records, especially at the Honda store, of service. We made some. We hit some records in terms of the amount of vehicles that were in and through the service department for maintenance for those oil changes express service.
Mm-hmm.
We caught our live yesterday. We talked about express service and how easy that is, and I think a lot of people are recognizing that. So we didn't want to pass that shout out about April production without thanking our customers, because obviously none of that could be done without your partnership in the community.
You could not. And one of the things we did notice is that in the month of April, because we had sold so many in March, we had a smaller pipeline, but we still were able to help as many customers as we could.
That's right. There was a lot of news that might have put people in a mind frame of, hey, I was going to buy a vehicle in June or July or August of this year, but I think I might want to decide on that early, and we'll touch base on that in just a little bit. But the other thing that's important to us, and I know it's important to me and the Mohawk team, is that with those great months of selling cars and servicing cars, we always want to give back, and we want to make sure we're partnered with some local organizations, nonprofits, and so forth. And we have a list of things that we're involved with. In fact, we were rattling them off before we turned the cameras on, and we probably missed some still, but we at least want to let everybody know what we're involved with. So when you visit those local events and you see Mohawk banner, you see
Look for
Mohawk
us.
employees,
We'll
you
try to
see
be
us
there.
wearing our name tags and our shirts, and you see us on the back of T-shirts. That we encourage you to support the same, those same organizations that we support.
Yeah.
Let's hit the folks with some of this stuff.
Let's hit the folks. So these are not in order because I was just writing them down as they came into my mind. But the first one that I'm going to talk about is our Dagan truck pull, which is going to happen May 18th. And this is to benefit the Special Olympics. We do this every year, and they actually increased the amount of teams this year. 20 teams will be pulling these massive trailers. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check our feed, because if I can, I will go live. Sometimes the service is spotty out there, but mind us out there. I will be actually DJing that event.
Oh,
so
we're going to have some music?
DJ Nerdy Nate will be out and about and playing some music for everybody to enjoy, along with being able to let everybody know who's going on, when they're going on, and we'll be getting some great content there. So
yeah, we're gonna have some matching. I know the Mohawk teams are gonna have some matching shirts, and they're gonna be stretched out and ready to go and try to beat some of the other teams. But regardless, win or lose, it's all for a great cause. So definitely check that out. That's the Dagan truck pull,
May
literally
18th.
Pulling
a truck,
big rig trucks.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
It's exactly the right thing.
So we have the Route 50 Mile that we were a proud sponsor of, the All That Jazz Gala to help the Muscular Dystrophy Association on June 12th. If you are around, the Shaken and Stirred event for the UPH, is the celebrity bartender event. And if you haven't seen the video yet, make sure you go to our social medias. We are deeming it the Mohawk in Black featured theme.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to take a look at that. It's a mixture of Men in Black, comes with the Matrix, hits John Wick all at the same time. So take a look at that video.
And if you haven't seen what Nate and the team put together for a what is it, a teaser,
Yep.
a video teaser, you have to check that out. That's on our social channels. That's really, really pretty cool. So Hollywood's got nothing on these guys.
Nope, nothing. With my small little budget, they got nothing on me. Shaken and Stirred, we have the Harridan Family Foundation Golf Tournament happening June 4th. So if you would like to be a part of that, I think we do still have some foursomes available.
Yep.
And some other sponsorship opportunities. The Charlton the Charlton Heritage 5K run. There's that.
Yep.
Then you also have the Torch Run coming up in June 18th.
Got a lot of running going on.
A lot of running. I hope you all are runners
That's
out
right.
there.
Stretch out. Get ready.
The Capital Region Heart Walk and Run. I will be running in that.
Run and walk.
Run and walk. The run is earlier. The walk is after.
Okay.
Later after. And then few shout outs. We have a plate change challenge that will be coming up in August. We're getting ready to shoot that next week, hopefully. We're almost there. All the teams have been asking me, when are we shooting?
Yep.
It's a lot of logisticals on the back end that I'm trying to get done. So that is we're almost there to shoot. And then we'll be posting those in August. So that is plate changing meets Survivor meets the challenge meets, all of that fun stuff that comes with puzzles and deciphering and plate changing and trivia. So make sure you are getting ready for that. Special shout out, last but certainly not least, special shout out to Steve Harridan. It is his birthday today.
Happy birthday. You can't hear maybe in the background, but we have a huge round of applause. Steve being one of the partners at Mohawk Honda. Happy birthday from the entire staff, and check out our social. There may be something cool that we put together for that later on.
Yes,
it's always fun to celebrate staff, especially one of the owners. So that's a lot of stuff. Holy cow!
So much stuff.
Somewhat athletically geared, but we always want to sponsor the folks who do that, make those do those runs or walks, and any of those. I believe everybody's welcome to either run or walk. So if running isn't for you, walking is certainly a thing. But we are sponsors of all of those events. So feel free to join us. We have staff. I know I'll be at almost all of them. Nate may be at a couple, and we have a whole team that'll be at those. So feel free to stop by, say hello. You'll see us in our Team Mohawk gear, and we look forward to it. Just give us a break. I know we may be at the back of the pack, but hey, that's okay. That's okay. We're out there and we're supporting.
Don't let him kid you. This guy's a marathon runner.
So that's a whole lot of local things going on. Super proud to be involved, whether we're sponsoring or participating or both. So check those out. We'll certainly give you updates on on the daily or at least on the weekly, where we either publish photos, videos. I'll be out there. We'll do our best to try to get some of those lives when we can. So that's a lot of great news. That's what's going on locally.
Right.
And I think we definitely don't want to delay. We want to talk about what's going on nationally. And we had our company meeting. Those of you who've tuned in before, we have a monthly meeting where the staff gets together all in the same place at the same time, at least once a month, so that we can kind of let everybody know what's going on outside of the walls of the Mohawk Auto Group.
Right.
And Mohawk Chevy had theirs yesterday, and Mohawk Honda had ours today. And I wanted to share a little bit of info that I shared with the team as far as what's going on, at least in the Honda world, in terms of.
And now it's time for your monthly market update with the one and only Mike O'Toole.
Market update. I feel like there should be some echo to that.
Market
Can we
update.
hit that? Oh, just kidding. All right, so this is what's happening. We talked about some robust
market worldwide. Wide.
All
right, sorry. Keep going.
We talked about how the two stores did at Mohawk Auto Group, and the trend of increased sales was not just here. There was a lot of places. So I'll share some of the national news for Honda. Honda had the best. I bet you didn't know, but this was the best month that Honda has ever had at 123,637 units delivered. It was a record month for Honda. That's a lot of vehicles. That's 12.4% over the projection.
Holy smokes.
A huge amount. 1% would be a lot. 10% would be incredible, and it was 12% over the projection. So
how you do that is the real question.
That is crazy. That put the yearly forecast for or rate of travel for Honda at over 1.33 million vehicles for the year, and the forecast was for less than that. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes. But being a third of the way through the year, that's a big number. I believe, along with the economists, that some of that effect is what they call a pull-ahead effect, which means, like I mentioned before, folks who might have thought about buying a vehicle in the summer or maybe in the fall may be accelerating their decision-making. So we'll see how the rest goes. Some of that acceleration has to do what's going on in the media, in reality as it relates to auto tariffs, import tariffs,
right.
Some of that. So people may have been making decisions because we know what the pricing is now, and instead of gambling, and saying, well, I'm not sure what the pricing is going to be in the summer or in the fall, let's just make that decision now.
Yep.
And we may have seen that, the reflection of that. Also, just share some stats, and then I'll let Nate share some more fun stuff. I'll just share some stats about what's going on. Most people notice about in the national news outside of the auto business. The unemployment rate last month was flat at 4.2%. But a bigger topic is the consumer sentiment, right? The consumer sentiment number index at 52.2 is lower than it's been in a long time. And consumer sentiment, as we most know, measures the consumer's feelings about the economy. So to me, that's a measure that people may be a bit uncertain, uneasy even about the economy. And that may have to do with tariffs in the car business, or it may have to do with a lot of other things. Have you heard that too? I mean, that's quite a difference from last month and even last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we get more into what the media is talking about, people are just starting to wonder. There's a lot more unknownness,
Yeah.
for lack of better term. They're just trying to figure it out themselves and trying to gauge. And this might be a month where they're just sitting back and trying to think about it.
Yeah, and again, we don't get political at all, really, on our podcast. But there was a change in administration a few months ago, and now there's some uneasiness. And I think just maybe the two things combined, tariffs.
A lot of things are happening
at the
fast.
same time, right?
There's a lot of things happening fast. People don't like change very fast. And because there's a lot of change very fast, you're getting all of these individuals that don't like this, right? And they're becoming more hesitant, and because they don't see the bigger picture. They don't know if this is actually going to work. And so for them, they want to stay more on the conservative side of everything versus everyone who's like, yeah, we need to do this 12 years ago or whatever, everyone else is saying. But it's just in life, right? Anybody that has a fast changing rules or a new system coming in, you're going to always have that resistance. You're always going to have those individuals that say, whoa, 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 we've been doing just fine. We don't need to change anything. Versus the individuals who see the other side and see what could be fixed and how efficient things could be. And they're all about, let's change everything right now.
Yeah.
And then you have the people in the middle that are like, I mean, what will be,
Yeah.
So you have a little bit of everything rocking right now.
Yeah, and we know that tariffs specifically, since that's a big buzzword, obviously,
Yep.
And it's not just in the auto business, but obviously in our world, we're talking about the auto business. But tariffs certainly affect more industries than just cars.
Right.
And I think when you add the other imports to a possible vehicle purchase or a parts purchase, right? Or the parts, that's certainly a big topic.
Right.
Or what is going to be the effect on the cost of parts, not just a car, even if you're not buying a car, whether you need to repair a car or you need to come to a dealership facility or any other facility and need to get the vehicle repaired. All of a sudden, the cost to repair the vehicles is more, right? And that'll go even further. And something you don't think about unless you're in this situation is we have our top of the line collision repair facility, right? So to repair vehicles that might have been in a collision, now all of a sudden costs more money. And if this is something that insurance is handling and the cost for insurance companies goes up, that can be passed on. It will be passed on in the form of increased premiums. So not just the cost that you have to pay that certain monthly payment for your vehicle, but those insurance premiums and those insurance payments could also go up. And if you haven't seen it already, I'd actually be interested. If anybody's viewing that's already seen any of those effects, feel free to put your comments if you're watching the replay, put it in the comments, or if you're live, feel free to chime in and we'll see if we can address any questions you have. But we have seen, and I know our collision center managers have seen, the cost to repair vehicles has increased. Right? And that might be something that's that those vendors are making those changes preemptively, or maybe they've already affected, but we know in the beginning of May that the tariffs on imported parts are now active. So that's a big deal.
Right.
That's a big deal besides the cost of vehicles themselves.
Right. And if you've been hiding under a rock and you have no idea what we're talking about, what is going to be tariffed or what is going to have a possible increase of price will be dependent on where a piece is manufactured across the globe and where it is finally assembled as well. And so we talked about this with Greg Johnson, our general manager here at Mohawk Honda, and he informed us that actually I think I have it somewhere around here, but 70% of the vehicles made for Honda are made in the U.S. and components are assembled here. So there's a lot of things that are not actually going to be tariffed. It's not everything that comes from wherever it is going to be tariffed. It's going to be final assembly. It's going to be what major components are coming from where, and that is essentially what will increase the price. Now, with that being said, there have not been any within our brands at the moment. There have not been any increase of prices so far,
So far, and that's really
or
good news.
projected at this moment in time.
That's correct. So neither GM or Honda has gone to their dealer network and said, as of this date in the future, there's going to be a price change.
Right.
They have not done that yet. Not to say that it couldn't happen, because you never know. But as of now, that's been the case. And then on a personal observation note, like I shared with the team this morning, we have seen the manufacturers, even outside of Honda and General Motors, kind of do a follow the leader thing, right? There haven't been any manufacturers who have really announced that there's been a large increase to pricing yet. In fact, we've seen some manufacturers who will remain nameless go to television spots and social spots specifically saying that we're not increasing pricing. So it'd be interesting to us and to all the viewers is, geez, what do we think? Do you think there's going to be that first, who's going to be that first manufacturer to change prices, if there will be? And if there won't be, we don't know. Well, we're not sure. Yeah, so that's a kind of big topic of wonder, of guessing, and we're doing the same here. I can only speak for Honda, and I'm sure we could speak for General Motors too, that they haven't made any changes and they haven't announced anything to the dealer network yet. Mm-hmm. So maybe, we saw the results in the last couple months as far as people buying vehicles. Maybe people have that idea, right? Like, geez, if you don't know what's going to happen in 6 months or a year, if I'm going to buy a car, I might as well buy it now.
Yep, that's what we're saying.
And I think people fall into one of those two categories, right? Maybe I'll buy the car now because I want to buy one and I'm going to buy one and I need to buy one. Or the other way, I'm not going to buy anything until I figure out what's going on here, right? I'm going to hold off, which means that may be the result of the increased service and maintenance. So I'm going to keep my car. I was going to think about buying a new car or another car. I'm just going to hold off. I'm going to get those tires replaced, right? I'm going to do all those services, and that's certainly an option for you too. I would advise that if anybody has any questions, and we want to come to you, inform you with as much info as we can as the viewers. If anybody has any questions about, Jesus, now the time, or at least get your options, just contact us. Right? Come to the dealership, give us a call, chat with us on the website, whatever means is comfortable for you, and we'll give you your options of what you can do now, and then you'll be fully informed. Because, like Nate always says, informed buyers
are the best buyers.
That's right.
And so if you are looking for a vehicle, just remember, always ask the salesperson you're with what percentage of the car is in the U.S. and North America made, because that will obviously help you understand where that vehicle is being made and how price could possibly be affected. Now, because that's what we talked about, that's where the parts and the critical components, etc., will come into play when tariffs are or are not imposed.
Yeah. I think everything that we've talked about so far as it relates to tariffs and uncertainty and is this going to happen or is this going to we're not sure, we don't know, that probably has a lot to do with affecting that consumer confidence index, right? So that consumer confidence, if there's an uncertainty, how can somebody be confident? Right? And so that's why nationally we see that decrease in consumer confidence. And I don't think that really has to do with your confidence, say, in Mohawk Honda or Mohawk Chevrolet, or maybe even your local seller of whatever you're buying. It has more to do with what's going on outside of that those dealers or those sellers can't control, because we certainly can't control it. So we certainly feel you as it relates to consumer confidence. I know I have confidence in when you contact Mohawk Auto Group and you have a question, and it doesn't have to be about sales. It could be about service, right? It could be about parts, accessories, anything that we're the experts at, that we'll be happy to give you all of your options so you can make a decision. And the decision might be either way, right? Geez, I might want to do something now, or I might want to wait and just kind of see what happens.
Absolutely.
So that's a lot. But that's the current state of where we are. And I tried to echo at least all of what we talked about with the staff this morning as it relates to tariffs and what's going on. We would mention that we are in the midst, Nate mentioned this briefly earlier, we are in the midst of the Clean Car Act and how that affects New York, specific to New York. You want to give the folks an update on what happened with that in the last week or so?
So the Clean Cars Act 2 was essentially halted in Congress of New York State.
That's right.
And so, if you are unfamiliar, essentially what this act would say is that by 2035, we'd have zero emission vehicles. Now, that was also imposing that one in every, was it 6 vehicles?
Well, for
Was like 35%.
That's right.
35% had to be a zero emission vehicle. So what
starting
that
in 2026.
started in 2026. So what that meant for dealers, regardless of where you are, would have to have, for every certain amount of new cars, one of them would have to be zero emissions. So if you came in to buy a vehicle and that dealership did not sell a zero emission vehicle, you would have to wait to get that vehicle.
Right. So simply put, if we kind of just
That's
to visualize
that's a very
it.
dumbed down version of it.
Yeah, I mean, to visualize it, and I need that. I need that dumbed down version. If 35% are, it's just more than a third, right?
Yeah,
So
slightly.
for every 3 vehicles a dealer sells, one would have to be
Right.
an EV or zero emissions vehicle, right? So that means 2 could be something else like gas or whatever. But, simply put, if those other 2 were already sold out of those 3, then that would only leave the EV, and that would be what's available for somebody to purchase. It's great if you want to buy the EV, but if you didn't want to buy it, then
You have to
that's
wait
a
till
little
they
tough.
sell that.
Right. Or you have to really make some plans to buy a vehicle elsewhere. Right. So not just for New York dealers in terms of what our revenue is, but for a consumer, that really doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
And so what the dealers and what the consuming public is looking to do is to ask the legislators to not impose something that's hard and fast like that, and let the growth of EV, which we support, let the growth of EV work itself through organically. Right. So if that amount is 10% or 15 or 20 or whatever it is, whatever the number is, that's okay, as long as consumers can purchase the vehicles that they want to purchase, and not what legislation or not what politicians want them to purchase.
Right, and that's essentially what it was, is that we had seen that the penetration was, I think it was 8 to 10%.
That's right.
And that was year over year. It went from 8 to 10%.
Yep.
And that is not conducive to the 35% that
Right.
we're trying to get to. And because of that, it just didn't mathematically make sense to keep that imposed on the consumer, because that would, honestly, in my opinion, I think that would go, the market sentiment that we're just talking about would go really far down.
That would be even worse.
Yeah.
Right? So not only are there uncertainties in the market, but now politicians want to tell people what they can and can't purchase
Right.
based on some type of formula that they came up with on what could be for sale. That's pretty tough for any of us to take.
for sure.
So we always want to mention this, that especially at Mohawk Auto Group, we're not opposed to moving EVs forward, and we certainly like a cleaner environment. We certainly like zero emissions, but we want to make sure that it's based on what the buyers want to buy, and not what we or the politicians say that you have to buy.
Right.
Because that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense on our end, and that wouldn't really be doing good business. As far as I can see,
Yeah.
and that seems to be the sentiment on our end. So that's a whole bunch that we covered. That's what's
did.
going on
Real
nationally.
quick on that,
Yep.
if we are asking, because even though it passed in Congress, it needs to go to the Senate and get passed.
That's right.
So we're not out of the woods yet, but we got halfway there. So please email your local senator and let them know that you do not want this.
That's right. That's right. And by not wanting it, we don't want the Clean Cars Act to force dealers to sell 35% by next year, right? We don't want them to have to only, offer 35% of the vehicles as EV and sell them, because that would restrict the buyer
Right.
on what they could purchase in New York, and that's never good for any buyer. So we'll continue to ask for support on that, and you'll see it in the news and so forth. And at Mohawk Auto Group, we certainly want to take a stance on the customer's behalf, because that's what it's all about. It's not about the dealership; it's about the customer's choice, and we'll continue to publicize that both on social and, of course, on Mohawk Table Talk.
Of course. Well,
So that's a lot.
There we did.
That is a
We did
lot.
it. We talked about tariffs. We talked about all the things we're doing in the community, and we talked about the Advanced Clean Cars Act. If you're just hopping on, this is Mohawk Table Talk, where we come to you each week around 12:30.
Around 12:30.
And if you're watching the replay, you literally have no idea when we're on live. So thank you to everybody who's watching, whether you are in the showroom right now or if you are watching and listening on Spotify or on YouTube or on Facebook. We want to thank you all so very much. But from Mike and I here at the Mohawk Studios, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week from Mohawk Table Talk.